Hey ABC, it's Greeno. Time for an update. It's been a little while since the last one. Like I mentioned in my last video, the Nerd Alert video, it's been kind of slow around here as far as records. Haven't got a lot coming in, but there's definitely still a lot in the just in piles to go through, so plenty to check out here. So see what I've been spinning here for the last couple weeks. And I just also wanted to say I'm way behind on watching videos and commenting, but I am watching, trying to here and there. So if you haven't got a comment from me, and you usually get a comment from me, believe me, I'm watching. Just, you know, the whole crew, you know who you are. So anyways, let's just kind of jump into the records here. Did a trade with Brother Scott, and, well, it's probably almost a month ago now. And finally getting around to showing them. Like I say, I haven't been doing as many videos, but Scott showed what he got from the trade, and he sent me 2 killer records, and I totally appreciate it, brother. These are great. First one is a compilation called California Metal Volume 2. Really dug this, man. Remember Recon's on here, an old band called Mastodon, Soldier, Emerald. You can see them here. Very cool. Just kind of, you know, traditional 80s style metal, and this is from '88 on Regency. Very cool stuff. And I'd never come across this one before, so thanks, dude. Hope there's not too much glare. And then he was like, "Hey man, do you have any Mahogany Rush?" And I'm like, "Actually, no, I don't think I had." It's just one of those bands that slipped by me. I never really picked up any of their stuff. Now I need to. After he sent me this, Child of the Novelty. Very cool. Totally dug this, man. It's just cool 70s style hard rock. You know, Hendrix influence, definitely. So, first Mahogany Rush, I believe, in the collection. Unless there's one floating in a box around here that I've forgotten about, but I definitely don't have any on the shelves. So, thanks, dude. And killer trade. And I do have a couple other things for you. Like I said, if I can get some motivation here, I'll get them out to you. He also sent, did I show you this? He sent a holiday card, signed, ultimatum. Very cool. That'll go in with the California Metal record, and it'll be there forever. So thanks, you brother. Thank you, brother. Trouble talking. Okay, let's jump into it. The first couple things here, there's like 3 or 4 albums non-metal. Everything else, typical metal. Found this while digging up in New England. It's Holly Rock, Legalize Freedom. And after picking it up, I remembered, or talking to Aaron, kind of jogged my memory, that he had sent one, or no, Scott had sent him an album by these dudes. And it looked pretty wild. I wasn't sure what to expect. And it kind of started out as like a rock, early 80s rock, almost a touch AOR. But it all of a sudden flips the switch about a third of the way in and goes to a blues album. Just full on kind of like a heavy blues. And if I remember right, side 2 is all live. And this is from '87. Looks like it's just a indie press thing. Good guitar player. This wasn't that bad, actually. It kind of surprised me. I picked it up real cheap. Here's the labels. It just looked interesting. And then, you know, come find out the other album, or another album by them, Scott had sent to Aaron, so it's kind of funny. But weird little record. I'm gonna hang on to it. Just kind of a punk, poppy, power pop punk kind of thing. The Pop, and name of the album is Go. This is early 80s, if I remember right. 79, so right there. And here's the insert, inner sleeve. Cool little album. I grabbed this at a junk shop, whatever, antique shop. Guy had a bunch of records. And pulled this out to listen to. It's just one of my favorite late 70s punk albums. And I know really nothing about this band, but I love this album. It's the Lonely Boys. I think it's like 79, 80, right around there. 1979 on Harvest. But this just like killer, it's almost like a mod punk kind of thing. And man, I love this album. Had it for a long time. Just great album. And just kind of grabbed this. I had one other album, or yeah, one other record by these guys, and kind of dig them. It's the Inmates, Shot in the Dark. Just cool early 80s, 1980 on Polydor. Just cool early 80s rock, you know. I don't know what else to say. Just a cool band. Alright, and that's it. Now we're going to get into the metal. Just got this in. Freaking love this magazine. It comes out very, very, very sporadically, but totally worth the wait. They're on issue like 22, and it can be a year or two or more in between each issue. But I've shown some of these before. But the new Snakes, Jesus, new Snake Pit. Man, they've upped their game here. They're now on like a glossy paper, not on the old, fanzine, cheap paper. And they always use, this thing is just jam-packed. And they always use really small font to get everything to fit. So much more easy to read on this style paper. So super excited. This just came yesterday. I'm going to try and dig into it a little bit tonight. This is like, if you're into 80s metal, old school metal, and they cover even, some newer stuff too, but really if you're into the older stuff, Tank, Slayer, Chateau, what other magazine are you going to find with a Chateau article, interview? Onslaught, Night Demon, newer band. So they cover that kind of stuff. And when they do interviews and articles, it's like super in-depth stuff. It's really cool and worth the wait. Every time one comes out, I just can't wait to grab it. And like I say, I just got that, and it came with a 7-inch single. Was it Malediction, which I've never heard of. Looks like they are. I looked real quick on here. It looks like these recordings are like from early 2000s, maybe one from a few years back. But I haven't spun this yet. I'll be checking that out. So if you've never checked out Snake Pit and you dig the old stuff and you really want to read, in depth, and they track these guys down from the most obscure bands and do these crazy in-depth interviews with them. It's really cool. Okay, let's get into the full lengths here. And there's a few. Got a little stack here we'll show. I just got this probably like a month or two ago. This popped up on a site I ordered from. I had some points built up, and it was pretty pricey, and I had to get many points built up. So I basically ended up paying shipping on this almost. Maybe shipping plus a couple bucks. But I had to grab it. It's a compilation, Metal Warning, Japanese compilation from '87. And this thing's killer. It's what's playing in the background. Hopefully you can see some of the bands here. Definitely some bands I hadn't heard of before, and always trying to track down more or hear more 80s Japanese metal bands. Loving this. I couldn't click buy now quick enough on that. That blew my mind. I'd never seen that before and got looking into it and was like, yeah, I'll take it. Next up, totally picked this up, Aaron, metal theologian. He just kind of texted me out of the blue one day, asked me about this record, if I had it or was into it. I never even heard of it, of course. He knows the obscure of the obscure. But he kind of sent me to where I could pick it up for a really good price. I grabbed it. It's White Boy and the Average Rat Band. Really cool. This is it's kind of rock, like a punk and a proto metal kind of thing mixed, but you know, like a noisy rock. But very interesting. And this is one of those albums that nobody knew who these dudes were for a long time, and people kind of got turned on to it, almost like a Death thing. The band out of Detroit, and you know, the few copies that turned up go for just insanely stupid money, and they ended up getting reissued, of course, as they're reissued. And actually, I was kind of looking into them and found some information online where they tracked the main guy down, and it was basically one dude was the main guy behind this, and he was kind of working in a record store that had a little recording studio, if you can call that, attached to it, and the guy would let him record there for working in the record store. So he recorded enough material to put out the album. And actually they're from like Virginia, like on the Virginia-West Virginia border kind of, and late 70s, early 80s, if I remember correctly. And just kind of did their thing and went about it, and then, you know, years later he found out that it had a cult following. So there you go. But, thanks, Aaron. I probably never would have come across that. It's a very interesting album. It's not a great album. It's very interesting, and the history behind it's very cool. But it's cool to hear, you know, this young kid trying to make an album, and you know, and it's got some heavy parts, man, and some cool guitar sounds, tones. Definitely worth checking out. Okay, next up, Silver Mountain. I pulled this out. I've had this for a long time to spin because of the other record I got. This is Shaken Brains. Cool band from Sweden. And I'm trying to remember the year. Mid-80s, somewhere in there. Maybe even earlier. But on this album they had Jens Johansson, keyboard player, who went on to be with Jesus everybody. I think he even did like Rainbow and Yngwie. Was he in Stradivarius or something like that? I don't know. He's a huge keyboard player in the metal scene. And a really cool album. But Buried by Time and Dust put out demos without the keyboards before Johansson, I guess, was involved. I think he was only involved on that one album. And this is kind of this material minus the keyboards and more stripped down, and this blows it away. This is freaking great. It was put out by Buried by Time and Dust. And actually, it is definitely early. This is these demos are from 1980. So I was super happy to get this. Ordered this and got it, and it was pressing flaws, just bumps all over the thing, and made all kind of noise. And I was like, crap, here we go. So I contacted the person I got it from online, and they were like, hold on, I'll set you up with a new one. The next thing I know, I get an email from I can't remember his name, the dude from Buried by Time and Dust, and he's like, not a problem, I'll send you a new one, yeah, tomorrow. So he just sent me the vinyl, already had the album, or the cover, so got it in a couple days. So very cool label, thank you guys for doing that, man. That's how it should be done, you know, take care of the customers, and we'll definitely be buying more from both. So, and also pulled this out just to kind of show the other Silver Mountain I have. This is Universe. This is on Attic, 1985. And I believe this was the second album. Kind of changed a little bit on this one. Okay, next up. Can't do a video without some new wave of traditional heavy metal. So, here you go. The new one from High Healer. Force and Finesse. And well, here you go. Pictures kind of say it all. Killer band. Love the music on here. The vocalist is a little bit weak, and weak isn't even the right word. He's not a real belted out vocalist, but he fits. He actually kind of reminds me, there was a band from the 90s called Chainsaw Kittens, just an alternative underground band. He kind of reminds me of that dude, the vocalist from that dude, or that band. And this was actually released on High Healer, so self-released. I think, was it Swords and Chains, Chains and Swords, Swords and Chains, I think, Records released the CD, which I grabbed that too because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get the vinyl. But first, can't remember, the first 50, first 100 came with a poster, and this has the poster in it, so it's one of the first releases of that pressing. But also, I'd shown their EP before too, and this was from a couple years back. Let's see if I see here. This also was self-released 2011. And man, if you didn't know better, if you were out digging and came across this, you would totally think this was like something from the 80s. And that's what these dudes sound like. I actually prefer this EP. It's actually 3 tracks. But man, this thing, I don't know, definitely smokes. The full length's good. Definitely worth checking out. But this was really killer. And looks like there was 300 pressed on black vinyl for this. And that's what this is, black vinyl. So, very cool. Grabbed a reissue of this. Came with bonus tracks. Which, yeah, I wasn't too worried about. But it's one of those albums I really dig, so I went ahead and grabbed it. And the bonus tracks ended up being fantastic. They sound as good as the album. And it's a bunch of leftover recordings, whatever, alternative takes. But it's Violence, Eternal Nightmare. And if you've never heard this album, just a classic, yeah, late 80s, second wave, whatever, Bay Area thrash album. This came out on Wax Maniacs. Looks like 2014, so it's been out for a little over a year, almost a couple years. And like I say, if you've never heard this album, definitely check it out. And what happened here? Did somebody go on to start another band? Was it Machine Head or somebody like that, who I've never heard? But I think that was the connection. Somebody was in that band, went on to be in another big band. I think it was Machine Head. Wow, I sound like old and stupid there. I'm sure everybody knows that. I don't. I didn't keep up with all that stuff. Okay, next up. I found this while digging down around DC. I knew this album was out, and it was kind of interesting checking it out. But after finding it and seeing all these people that were kind of helping him out on this album, I went ahead and grabbed it, and it's freaking great. It's the new Thor album, Metal Avenger. This is freaking great. Great in a pile driver kind of way, in a cheesy old Thor way, if you dig that stuff, which I do. You know, it's freaking great. It's got like those anthem songs and just, you know, stupid metal rocking songs are great. But he's got some guests on here: Fast Eddie Clark, Henry Rollins, Brian Forsyth from Kix, JJ French, and Cheetah Chrome, and there was somebody else, Rick Agnew from Christian Death, but I was thinking it was one other. Okay, whatever. I was thinking Betsy Bitch was on here, and she might be, but I don't see it listed. It might be on the, yeah. Here's the inner, and you can see she's up here. I think she does one song with him or something, if I remember right. Anyways, this is killer. If you big pile driver and Thor and Man of War, just that over the top DOS metal. Check this out. It's definitely worth picking up. It's on deadline. It just come out, I guess, towards the end of the year there. Here's the inner. And this one is the ultra rare blood red, who gives a shit color vinyl. But very cool. Definitely worth checking out. Dug the hell out of that. Next, the new Cauldron in Ruin. Cauldron, new wave traditional heavy metal, out of Canada. How many albums now? I can't even remember. Cool band, definitely in that scene, well respected. I will have to say that, I don't know, there's something, I need to give this more spins. It's definitely cool, but it's a little tame. I don't know how else to put it. And this isn't on a big or any kind of label. They were on Earache or something at one point, and I can't remember what else. Were they on Heavy Artillery, I think, at one point? And this may have been, I don't know, this may have been self-released. And that may account for, yeah, I think it's self-released. There's no label listed on here at all. That may account for just a little bit of a weaker production, I don't know. But it's definitely worth checking out. And I'm not saying by any means it's a shitty album, because it's not. But it's just definitely a tamer album than what I've heard from them in the past. But again, like I said, I need to spin it a few more times. But definitely cool. Just in like last week, and I haven't spun this yet. But I just kind of threw it in a pile here to share. Probably be spinning this here either tonight or tomorrow. It actually looks very interesting. Race Against Time. Time Waits for No Man. Knew nothing about this other than it's new wave of British heavy metal that High Roller has dug up. So, new wave of British heavy metal that High Roller has found and released. I'm in. I'm going to give it a shot. So I went ahead and grabbed this. It's 1 LP. Looks very promising. So we will see. While digging down in the city, I came across this, and I've actually I had this on cassette, a copy on cassette when I was a kid. I never actually had this, the official whatever release, but it's Cat, Worship Me or Die, the great Cat. This is one of these albums I wanted to grab, and this is totally over the top. How fast can I play guitar? Faster than you, faster than anybody else. And you know, that's basically it. But man, this used to be, ads for this used to be in all the metal magazines back in the day. And like I said, I had it on cassette, and it's not like a killer great album, but it's totally, you know, something I wanted to grab for the collection. Super happy to get that, and it's in fantastic shape. Okay, up next, super big thanks for the heads up from Raul, Citizen Toxie, who hardly ever makes videos anymore, but when he does, you need to watch him. And this is a perfect example. He was talking about this, Brown Acid, The First Trip. It's a compilation of like rare 70s hard rock singles, or tracks, whatever you want to say. And this is smoking. This is on Riding Easy Records, and you can probably still get them from the label. I'm hoping they do more of these, more in this series, because this is fantastic. There's 11 tracks, and I would say 9 of them are great. There's a couple in there it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But for the most part, this is just start to finish killer if you dig 70s hard rock. And this is like, you know, the obscure stuff. Bands on here, most of them, or all of them, I'd really never heard of, except for, was it Josephus? But it's everything from like 1969 up to 1979. The only bad thing about this is there's no information on the bands. And they may not have a lot of information, but it'd have been cool if what they did have, they would have put, there's no insert or anything. If they'd have put an insert, you know, at least put what they knew about them along with the release. But about the most you get is where they're from, you know, New York or Los Angeles, Camden, New Jersey, Jacksonville, Florida, that kind of thing. But this is fantastic. You know, Riding Easy Records, go check it out on their website if they still have it. Definitely worth picking up if you dig the 70s hard rock stuff. Next, I showed this, I think, when I grabbed it. I got it up digging with LJ, actually, in his spot up there. It's COC Wise Blood. And, man, this is just a killer 90s record, man. It's kind of in there in that Caius stoner rock, but these guys had that southern thing going on, just heavy as fuck. Just a killer band, you know. And there's a couple other albums from that era I would love to grab by COC. And COC, of course, you know, a lot of different eras in that band. They were a punk band to begin with, and lots of people dig the punk era. I'm not a fan of it. I dig that kind of 90s era, and then I think they even kept going on. I think they're back together now with Pepper Keenan back in the band, which I haven't heard any of that. Next, grab this probably over the summer, and just forgot to show it. I've played it a few times, and it's freaking really cool. Budgie, British Radio Sessions, 1972. And it's basically what it is. It's sessions from the BBC. And let's see what we have here. Side 1 is live in the BBC studios, and side 2 was recorded live at Paris Theatre in London. And from the BBC in concert program, October 19th, 1972. So early Budgie. Sounds cool, you know, I mean, it's definitely like a radio sounding deal, but you know, anything Budgie. And actually I prefer the full live of side 2. The in the studio stuff is definitely cool, but the full on live is better. One I just kind of pulled out to give a spin. Haven't spun it forever. It's Brittany Fox, Boys in Heat. Just killer band. Everybody knows these dudes. Yeah, don't need to say much about that. And one I've had in the Just In section for a while, and finally spun it. It's a different pressing. I have this on a different pressing. I can't talk right now, evidently. But anyways, Exciter, Long Live the Loud. And I grabbed this because it's a pressing from Czechoslovakia. I looked it up. Looks like it was, I mean, the album originally came out in 85, 86, somewhere around in there. But this pressing came out in like 91. So definitely a few years later. And it sounds good. The cover's laminated and it's starting to bubble and everything else, but it was just too cool to pass up. And I can't remember where I found that. It's been a long time. It's been sitting in the Just In piles. Alright, that's it. Another long ass video, probably, it looks like. So, and again, if you haven't seen me commenting, it doesn't mean I'm not around. I am. I'm trying to watch videos, and it tends to be late at night on the TV or on my phone, and I end up not leaving comments. So I apologize. There's been some great videos lately with like George, Love Is Nerd Alert videos. Got me wanting to do another one, which I did. And John, Bit Bop Boom. If you guys haven't, the metal guys haven't checked out John yet, you need to. Great channel, great dude. Wearing the Rod shirt the other day. Killer shirt, dude. And just everybody, all the way, you know, Scott and Aaron, LJ, George, Nathan, totally dig Nathan's stuff, man. Yeah, I watch him on Facebook, and he's always going to shows and talking about new bands. So it's cool to see young people as obsessed as us old farts are. So, anyways, I don't want to name check a bunch of people because I'll of course leave somebody out. I will name check Garner, dude. Happy to see you back. He's shit, high octane something. I don't know. I've followed Garner through like 3 or 4 channels now. He started out as Mr. Mean Daddy, if anybody remembers that. But Garner's always showing the cool stuff, man, the garage stuff, the 70s hard rock stuff. Not a metal guy, but it doesn't matter. He's showing killer shit that I would love to have. And one of the great guys in the VC. He's been around forever. Anyways, enough with spouting off about people everybody knows. That's it, VC. I don't know when I'll do another update. Hopefully not too long. Maybe next week sometime. Definitely have some more stuff to show. Not a lot coming in, but definitely plenty of stuff still to spin and check out, which is kind of a good thing. I don't have a bunch coming in right now. I'm kind of going through the just in piles finally. Alright, that's it, BC. Later.